You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 28th, 2023 meeting of the LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water District Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Calling the meeting of the LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water District to order for March 28, 2023. Let's salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Here. Here. Delia's on Zoom.
Yes, but we can't hear Jennifer on the Zoom.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Present.
Amanda Laners?
Present.
Okay.
Okay, approval of the minutes from February 28, 2023.
I found a couple typos.
And Marcella's coming in now.
I found a couple typos on page 2.
Page 2.
I had asked about logging into the NIPSCO account, which probably should have been AEP, but spell check made it Nabisco, which is kind of cool. So, and then one more, Marcella Kunstick made a motion to approve the reimbursement payment SIN, which is, that was also amusing. That was probably a spell checker on page 3. That was all I saw.
Nabisco, yeah.
Okay, anything else? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the minutes as corrected by Jerry. Any questions? Proceed to vote. Roll call.
Second was Amanda.
Mitch.
Mitch? John Carr?
Yay.
Marcella Kunstick?
Yes.
Jerry Jackson?
Aye.
Mitch Bishop?
Aye.
Dahlia Zegas?
Aye.
Amanda Laners?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to public comment statement. Anyone wishing to speak needs to state their name and address for the record, and we'll have 3 minutes to speak. Is there anybody under public comment? Anybody on Zoom under public comment?
Anybody in Zoom want to speak?
Okay, seeing no public comment. Public comment is closed. Moving on to reports. Steve Carter, claims and finances.
Financials for the month of February for Rolling Prairie had receipts of $20,371, disbursements of $13,751, plus the loan payment. Ending balance as of 2/28 was $36,084.05. The breakdown of funds is on the second page there. We made transfers from the operating fund into debt service reserve and bond and interest. For the toll road, no receipts for the month, $29,445 in disbursements, $888 in interest income, ending total balance of $402,626.71. Of that amount, $256,528.30 is in the Hoosier Fund, and the balance of $146,098.41 is in the Horizon checking account. For the Hudson-Saugony service area, we had just minimal activity for the month, some interest income and some wire fees. Ending balance as of 2/28, $3,317,406.25. $3 million of that was transferred to the Hoosier Fund at the end of the month. The balance then being in a Horizon Bank checking account. Claims for the month, we have a total of $61,987.33 for you to consider. Most of them are the normal bills. We do have a couple of annual bills here for Mission Communication for the SCADA system. And then we have a design engineering bill from JPR on the Hudson-Saugony project.
Move approval of claims.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of claims. Are there any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. Jennifer, roll call, please.
Who was second? Sorry.
Marcy.
Okay.
Marcel. You have a question, Marcy?
No,
Oh.
I was just telling her I was second.
John Carr,
Yes.
Marcella,
Yes.
Jerry,
Aye.
Mitch,
Aye.
Dahlia,
Aye.
Amanda.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Asbury Water Technologies.
Good morning. Really, the only thing I have for you this month is, last week we did have an electrical issue at one of the wells, and I called out Peerless Midwest. They were designer of the system, and within the 2 days, we had the issue corrected.
Is it a motor or a starter or?
Seems like there was a loose wire in the shutoff box. It was reset at the breaker. The breaker tripped, reset the breaker, and it fried something and had to replace the shutoff box.
Have you guys done IR scans ever?
No.
We do that in LaPorte, and it's kind of once a year, just put an IR camera through all the electrical boxes, and you see hot spots before they blow up on you.
That would be something that would be
Might be good.
Yeah, might be good to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, JPR, billing, collection liens, permit, inspection fees collected.
Okay, nothing other than what I already provided in your report with the accounts, and if you have any questions.
Do we have any connection reimbursements?
I don't believe I have any this month. I just brought you the checks to sign because I didn't have them from last month. So I need to pay those.
How many are still outstanding as far as reimbursements? 1,000?
Little over half,
Yeah, okay.
or right around half, I think, still, yeah. We won't
Wow.
know until,
And we've got, what, one more month? It ends.
May 1st.
Right.
Was there a letter sent out with the May 1st deadline?
I sent that out. I think I told you at last meeting, I sent those out a couple weeks before the last meeting. So for both Phase 1 and Phase 2. I did get one request, but it ended up they were in Phase 1. They weren't eligible. So,
Okay.
Do we have any idea, and I don't expect you to know it off the top of your head, of the number of people who've now connected in Phase 2 versus the number of people who've asked for reimbursement? I mean, is there a, I get there's a significant percentage that hasn't hooked up.
I think
but
pretty much everybody that's connected has asked.
what I was
I'd have to
wondering.
look, but,
I just
yeah.
wondered if there was a bunch of people who actually did connect and just, for whatever reason, aren't asking for the money.
Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
I can double check it, but I think everybody that's connected has asked. I think even a couple of the contractors have been helping them
Good.
with that even.
Do you know
the
about how many
paperwork.
we've reimbursed?
Let's see, we sent in 40, and then I have another 15, and then I have more to do, so I would say there's probably another 25, so close to 100, or
Close to
getting
100,
close to 100.
Well, what did we have funds for?
150, was
That
it?
sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's about right.
I, of course, have designs for anything left over for lift station improvements, but
And we won't know that until 60 days after the May 1st is when, because with the cutoff being May 1st, they still have 60 days to get their paperwork to us.
Okay, I didn't
We
know
couldn't just cut it both off at the same time. That's what I put in the letter.
that. Okay. Moving on, phase 2.
All right, thanks, guys. Don't really have any update on phase 2 until we get to that May 1st deadline. So I'll just go ahead and roll right into Hudson Saugony project. Attached to your board packets, we've got the project timeline, just trying to keep that in front of you so it's in the front of your mind as we move forward through all this. Over the last month, both JPR and Steve Carter have worked on updating the asset management plan to include the Hudson Saugony project as a requirement of SRF. They require that a asset management plan certification form be executed and submitted to them by April 1st. So they're actually indicating that deadline is this Friday. We have completed, preliminarily completed the asset management plan between Carter and us, and I handed you guys hard copies of it, and I think Jennifer sent out an electronic copy yesterday. So if you've had a chance to look it over, if you have any questions, really all we've done is added in the proposed stuff from Hudson Saugony Lake. But otherwise,
want the proposed equipment that we haven't bought or installed
yes, correct.
yet? Okay.
Yep, it seems kind of counterintuitive, but yes, they've required this for all of our projects for this year. And
Yeah, they changed it from
Yeah.
the end to the beginning, so.
and to my knowledge, I think this is the first year they've ever
How's that an asset?
required it this way.
Some banks have assets
Proposed
like
asset?
that lately.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, I would have proposed, I have like, $1 billion, I guess.
Take a loan against them.
Really.
do you need a,
Yeah, so
Motion to
I'd like
sign.
to request a motion to accept the revised asset management plan and to have John sign off on the SRF asset management plan certification form.
All right.
So that we can submit that paperwork on the board's behalf by Friday.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, to approve the asset management plan draft. Are there any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. Jennifer, roll call.
okay, motion was Mitch and second Jerry.
Correct.
Sorry, guys. John Carr,
Aye.
Marcella,
Yes.
Jerry,
Aye.
Mitch,
Aye.
Dahlia,
Aye.
Amanda,
Aye.
Did it? Ayes have it. Motion carried. So the certification form Jennifer has, I'll just sign after the meeting?
Yep, that's fine.
there's one in your packet too.
Oh, it's in the pack? All right. You got something
one.
under design progress update?
Yeah, so also attached is a project update memo from JPR. The first couple items there, we're just continuing to put that information on the update memo for you guys so you can keep it in your mind. We're looking at completing project design by August 2023 and submitting permits in that same month. Be going out for bids in September and receiving bids in October with a projected closing date of February 2024. Just keep in mind that's a best case scenario. And our proposed project contracts that we're looking at the time include Contract A being Travel Plaza 3 treatment plant expansion. Contract B would be our pump stations and force mains. C would be Saugony Lakes wastewater collection system, and D and E would both be Hudson split over 2 contracts. Also, we are continuing to work on putting together equipment pre-selection packages as previously discussed with engineering committee and in these meetings. So getting into, I'm gonna kind of jump, some of the stuff that I'm gonna discuss is stuff that we discussed in the engineering committee meeting a couple weeks ago. So we may touch on it again later in the meeting. But at our last engineering committee meeting, we met with the committee to discuss the grinder station policy that we preliminarily introduced at the February meeting to kind of iron it out and finalize it. And what we decided in the engineering committee meeting was that the district would own and operate an electrical distribution system for each grinder station. So this would be, as part of the project, we would be building out load centers, meter bases, and an electrical distribution center to power each grinder station instead of requiring individual property owners to pay for that themselves. In order to help save some capital costs for the project, the grinder stations are not to be installed any farther than 10 feet into the property line from the right-of-way. To kind of go along with that, the engineering committee decided to allow for property owners to extend the length of that lateral. So the grinder station can be placed farther than 10 feet into the property, but they would it would be done so by property owners paying for lateral and electrical conduit and conductors in an extension to reach their desired point, and those costs would be at the established bid prices once the bids come in. So those property owners will be able to take advantage of economy of scale of the project in order to get a favorable price on those extensions. It's going to be, it certainly costs less money than to have it done after the fact. So also, in order to allow for as many gravity lateral connections as possible to the grinder stations, that is to say, in order to avoid the need for sewage ejectors at certain properties where they don't have enough fall to reach the grinder station if it's 10 feet off the right-of-way line. Grinder station extension kits can be used to deepen those tanks. We've used a few of those at the Rolling Prairie project, for example. Already touched on item D there, and we also discussed that every effort shall be made for properties to share grinder stations in order to help reduce capital costs in the project. Kind of the cutoff we decided was that in the event that a shared grinder station would result in a gravity lateral of longer than 100 feet, that would end up being two singles instead of a shared. So that's to avoid having an extremely long gravity lateral, which would, the cost would be responsible by the property owner. We've attached said grinder station policy to your board packets, and I think that we'd like to look to the board for acceptance of this, because these are the guidelines we're going to use when we start conducting property meetings here in the near future, so that we can make sure we're on the same page and we're telling the general public the correct thing as far as what standards the district's going to take.
I think they're reasonable guidelines. I'd move for acceptance.
Yeah. I was there at the engineering meeting, good summary, and I'll second Jerry's motion of approval.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the design progress update. Are there any questions on the motion? Jennifer, proceed to vote. Roll call.
We're approving
we're
the
accepting
grinder
the
station
grinder station
location
policy.
guidelines, right?
Yep.
Just so we understand.
Okay. Grinder station.
Location guidelines.
Okay. John,
Yeah.
Marcella,
Yes.
Jerry,
Aye.
Mitch,
Aye.
Dahlia,
Aye.
Amanda,
Aye.
Ayes have it. Moving on.
All right, so update on wastewater treatment plant design. We have finished establishing proposed flows and loadings for the expanded plant, and continuing to work on developing those equipment packages described earlier. Regarding the outfall sewer, on Wednesday, March 15th, I met with R&R Visual, a company out of Rochester that we hired to locate and televise the effluent outfall sewer from the TP3 plant, because there's just not good record drawings on it. And what we were able to do is we did determine that the treatment plant does indeed discharge into the unnamed pond that's located southwest of the travel plaza. However, we tracked the outfall location to 230 feet, I think it's south, of the last manhole that we located out in the woods. So there's as you guys probably know, there's an easement that goes through the woods where that outfall sewer is located. There's one manhole kind of out in the middle of the woods, about 700 feet west of the travel plaza, where the outfall sewer turns and goes downhill. And at the bottom of this hill, we were never able to locate any physical evidence of the outfall itself. But we were able to, using the camera, we were able to locate the end of the pipe being approximately 230 feet downhill from that last manhole. Weren't able to find any evidence of an outfall there, but the camera was not submerged, so it wasn't under the water level of the lake. And it is obstructed by something. There is stuff on top of the end of the pipe, but it's continuing to freely discharge somehow. So, yeah, so you guys know we do have it budgeted to build a new outfall as part of the project. We just wanted to verify its location. And without any record drawings, this is how we had to do it.
Do you have a proposed name for the pond yet?
It's called an unnamed pond tributary of Hog Lake. That is what the NPDES permit says.
We should rename it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And otherwise, we're beginning work on plan set production for the wastewater plant. On the collection system side of things, we completed our hydraulic modeling of Saugony Lake and conducting an internal review of that model to make sure it's accurate, and continuing to work on plan and profile alignment drawings for the entire project. We have preliminarily added grinder station locations to the plans in accordance with those guidelines that you guys just approved. So we're working on making revisions to the ones we'd already put in so that we're in adherence to our policy that we just enacted there. Continuing with utility coordination underway and with pre-selection. I have obtained quotes on geotech services, so that's for drilling of soil borings in the area, and we are looking at getting them going here probably later this week. So in a couple weeks, we'll probably have a company rolling around out around Hudson and Saucony Lake drilling soil borings to determine soil conditions and water table. I think they're going to take a couple of borings at the wastewater plant site too.
Do they do the borings on no private property or
Correct.
on private?
They're done in the right of way.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and as part of their contract, they're going to have to go get county highway right-of-way permits, and they'll have to get a permit through the Indiana Toll Road to be able to take borings in our easement off the south side of the toll road. So that's all part of their scope.
How many borings are they going to do? Do you know?
150. Okay. Several.
I had a project I really screwed up when I didn't do enough.
Yeah, every couple thousand feet is what we shoot for. Intersections and dead ends and every couple thousand feet. So if you're interested, I can send you a map of the proposed borings.
I'll be curious to see what's there, because that area is up on the marine and it's all mixed up soils.
Yeah. We do take this report that is going to be generated for us, and we attach that as one of our appendices to our project manual. So all of our contractors will get this information to help eliminate some unknowns. Otherwise, under other miscellaneous, just to give you guys an update on the customer database and easement list, Currently in process of acquiring deeds, we've got about 51% of Saugony Lakes deeds and about 24% of Hudson Lakes deeds. Overall, about 30% done creating that list. I think that's all I've got until we get to new business, so I'll come back up here as needed.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
One thing we didn't cover is the SRF Regional Planning Committee or meeting. I know Mitch mentioned he would attend. Everything good to go with that, Mitch?
Yeah, I signed up online for that. There was some kind of small sign up where you had to state your name and date and birth and all that good stuff. Took care of all that, so I should be good. I got a confirmation, so I'll be there.
Are you going to Cherville or Napanee?
No, Cherville.
Cherville.
Yeah, I stay away from.
All from Amish donuts.
Good idea, although there is one over there.
That's the April 26th.
Yep,
Yeah, I got a confirmation, so.
that's the day after our next meeting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on, Executive Committee, Internal Control Policy.
Yeah, I forwarded that to Barry. I think that's more him to review and look at all the Indiana codes and everything, and then I think we'll set another meeting.
Yeah, I mean, every entity has one. I reviewed one years ago for the Michigan City Water Department. I'm sure Jerry has one, every town, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think it was Steve got to Jennifer got to me one that for another sewer district. So I'll go through that, and then particularly would welcome Jerry's input because he's probably been involved in drafting one. So again, I don't think we have to spend, it shouldn't be a gargantuan project. We're just going to kind of make sure that the statutory sites are accurate, change the name, make sure that the board structure is consistent with ours. So hopefully we'll have that, some kind of draft ready for everybody by the next meeting, and maybe even in time to have an executive meeting in advance of that.
Good deal. Okay, moving on, Engineering Committee met on Thursday, March 16th.
Yeah, I think Dan already went over a lot of that,
Yeah.
but one thing is I know we want to schedule the next one, so I was kind of looking at the second week of April.
It's a busy week.
Is it?
For me, it is.
Okay. How about, well, I'll send out an email. You want to start with like the third week of April then? Will that work?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. And then I believe what we want to do there too is we want to start working on the first easement letters to the property owners. And Barry, I don't know if you'll be able to attend that meeting too, but we want your input on those letters. If you can review those.
Yeah, you can either have me attend or just get me whatever. Do you guys, I mean, does JPR have a draft of
Yeah.
that letter, I presume?
We'll draft it and get you what we'll.
Do you also have an easement agreement that you guys typically use? You might
Yeah.
want to get that to me too,
Okay.
to take a look at.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that really becomes contentious on the grinder pump, the easement agreement.
Yeah, I've dealt with it over the years for sanitary district and water department, but that's a whole different deal.
Yeah,
That's-
it's a meets and bounds there, and yeah, this is a
And if you
descriptive.
take anything, you're usually just getting 5 feet along
Yeah,
the
and
right-of-way
that's-
line or.
That's basically what this is. It's basically 7 feet. If we're using the same type one that we just did, it's 7 feet on each side of the property line if it's a shared grinder. Otherwise, I think it's 15 foot wide for the.
Along the path of the lateral or something like
Yeah.
that?
But I think it might be over the property during construction, so it's a construction
So there's a
and a
temporary
permanent.
and permanent?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I believe that's what it is, but I will get a copy out to everybody once we're ready, and you
So-
can take a look at it.
So it's not anticipated you need any easements along right-of-ways, they're more the ones coming perpendicular that go to
Correct.
the grinder?
Where we're putting in the grinder, the 10 feet onto their property and everything, then that's where we want that. And we'd need all these, you know, so we have the access and the contractors have the access to come onto the property and.
Yep.
And we already have a draft that was prepared in the easement and the letters, so we'll get that to Barry for his review and approval.
Okay.
And is your intent to have that meeting at the wastewater treatment plant?
Or Jerry's office, or wherever you guys want to have it.
I just know that it was here, it's April, couple of hours, wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, it's been on there, but we keep having it at Jerry's. I think it's convenient there if it works for
It's
everyone.
fine at my office.
Prefer.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or we can get coffee
Sorry.
and donuts.
Yeah. Let's have it there.
Okay. Anything else, Jennifer, under engineering committee?
I don't think so, Dan. I think we're good there.
Okay, new business. Next meeting, April 25th. Pre-agenda meeting and attendees, John, Marcy, Steve, Henshin, Barry, Steve Carter, Randy, Jennifer.
Yep.
We could actually, that's 2 board members, right?
John, yeah, it's just you two for the pre-agenda meeting.
Okay.
We don't need, it's not a committee or anything. We just create the agenda and discuss it and bring up anything else we might need to put on it.
So I see you got it, the next pre-agenda meeting scheduled for April 18th. I don't know, at 9, you know, just an idea, the engineering committee, I mean, could we coincide with that, like 8 a.m. or
We usually do the agenda meetings just by
Zoom?
Teams or Zoom, but we can
Okay.
do it however you want to do it. You think April 18th would be a good day for a meeting?
I don't know, I haven't checked.
Okay, well, we can work and try.
Good with that.
I'll have to check with Steve's
Okay.
calendar and everything, but
I mean, if it's just me and Marcy, we can do it from Jerry's office, if that's where
Yep.
we have it at.
I've got a 9 o'clock that day, but that's it, on
Okay.
April 18th.
well, we could do it later.
Yeah, do like a 10.
Yeah, we'll send an email.
That'd be fine,
You
Okay.
think you'll be available by 10, Jerry?
very likely.
Okay.
Are you gonna still do it, though, for, I mean, you should still, I mean, it's easier for me to stay where I am than drive over. I don't
Yeah.
mind driving over, but,
No, Zoom is good for some.
For the pre-agenda
well, the pre-agenda, we typically do Zoom
at
or
9 and
Teams, I
then
think.
10, well, that might, yeah, that might be difficult for me, but I can do, well, I'd have to figure it out. Let me check with Steve, because first I have to figure out,
All right,
he's
we'll
usually
make
on
it
the
work.
pre-agenda, and then he definitely needs to be at the engineering meeting. I don't necessarily need to be there, but he would need to be there, and Dan, so,
If you need Zoom at my conference room, it's available.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
We can do that then.
It's not great, but it works.
Okay. Yeah, I can bring my computer and we can do Zoom there for the pre-agenda and then go into the regular engineering meeting. That would work.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Next up, Horizon Bank meeting. Marcy and myself attended a meeting at Horizon Bank.
I brought some stuff for Steve, too, that I'll give to him after.
So they alerted us when that wire transfer went through. So Marcy set up a meeting with them. Marcy, you want to kind of go over what we talked about?
Basically, they just shared with us the rates that they could give us if we wanted to go ahead and move money back over to a local facility with no wire transfer fees as well. They did express their apologies for communication, lacking communication somewhat, and they were very anxious to try to do whatever they can to work with us. Gave us some ideas too, Steve, about naming accounts and stuff like that. And then they also talked about getting maybe Jennifer and I in there to do a view or sign kind of quick overview on how to utilize the accounts and get in there, and if we need to make transfers and so forth. So definitely something I think we're considering, right, John?
Yeah.
definitely considering moving some money back over there. But I do want to share with you, Steve, the rates, and they're going to send them weekly, and we can probably put you, back on to receive these as well, but they're gonna, kind of give us,
So what was the rate that we have at currently?
Was it
where we
4.4?
transferred to?
The Hoosier?
It changes daily. Last I looked, it was 4.55.
and how long are we in there?
It's daily. You can take it out at any time.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a daily money market rate tied to U.S. Treasuries and agencies. So it's liquid.
okay.
So
I
know.
think we can still get some liquidity, at least for that we need, by laddering some CDs with Horizon. We would just have to coordinate with JPR and when they think, and I do have some of that information already. We may have to revise it, but
But did you notice too, Steve, that they've made sure all the rates are what they have told you they were going to be?
Better.
I have not been back into
Okay.
the accounts
Okay,
to
that was
confirm
another thing
that.
they told us.
Did they mention that they were going to raise the rates on the other checking accounts?
I think we have them actually in that paperwork, Steve, it shows what the actual rates are now, which is what I believe they quoted you originally, but it seemed like there were 4 different rates, weren't there, or 3 different rates on 3
Yeah.
different accounts?
It says it's 2% effective 2/28/23, which is better than what you were getting.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know one of the schedules they have on there is, 60 to 90 days, I think a 4.7% interest rate.
Yes.
So that's something to think about.
Yeah, so what we could do is, like I say, ladder some CDs out so that when they mature, you have enough funds to pay the engineering and whatever preliminary costs are for that month.
So how much do you think we'd need for 3 months?
Like I say, we could do 1, 2, and 3 month, and 4 month, or the longer maturities here, stagger them out so they roll off each month. And I do have a preliminary schedule that I think Kenny had put together, but that's been 3 months ago, and I'm sure that's migrated a little bit, so we probably need to update that. I know that we haven't spent as much as what that schedule said you were going to spend, so we may want to, before we, move to investments,
And I think
take a look at
you
that.
left a chunk in there too that hasn't been.
Yeah, there was somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 that
Right.
was left at Horizon.
And we're only writing a
And,
check for
yeah,
one.
we're writing a check for $31,000
there's
today,
still a-
so there's still a good chunk in there.
Right.
So do you think there's 3.1 million in that
Three.
Hoosier fund? 3 million?
Yeah.
Do you think if we were to transfer all that to Horizon, that we would be good for 90 days with the 250,000 in the account?
Are you asking me if you'll spend $250,000 in the next 90 days? It's
Yeah.
possible.
More than that, you think?
Again, I'll have to get with JPR on
Yeah.
that, but
We'd have to look at the geotech and different things that are coming in and, yeah, and look at those expenses and the quotes that are coming in.
Because basically
But we
what you're
can do
saying
that.
is lock it in for the 3 months
Yeah,
at the higher rate, obviously, if we think
much?
we're comfortable.
Yeah, so what I would look at is something like, 1 to 30 days, let's say. We would put in a 30-day CD of $200,000. Then we would put another $200,000 at 60 days, and then, maybe a big chunk at 90 days, and then maybe even some a little bit longer than that if we wanted to.
Okay.
We don't, my feeling is that short-term interest rates are going to continue to rise, but, you don't know that, so you
Right.
don't want to lock in for too long when interest rates are moving as quickly as they are. You look here, you've got an inverted yield curve. That's the first time we've seen that in at least 15, 20 years. And I expect that you're going to continue to see the short-term rates higher than longer-term rates for the foreseeable future, but,
Do we need a motion to transfer money back to Horizon?
I would think you would, and you'd want to specify which fund, obviously, and I would be as specific as you can, because we're talking about not the money we have in Hoosier Fund that's just excess
Right.
toll road plaza money. You're talking about the bond anticipation note money, right?
Ben,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would certainly think that you'd want to do something along the lines of what Steve's recommending is have these staggered maturity dates. So if all of a sudden you get hit with a big bill, we're not scrambling and moving money around. But yeah, I would absolutely make a motion to transfer and maybe defer to Steve about specific amounts, something along the lines that he was describing.
Well, I think if we do 250,000, 30 days, 60 days, and then 2.5 million into the 90 days.
More.
That,
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get with, I say Kenny or whoever at JPR has that information before we make a final decision, but we may be able to be even more aggressive than that, with pushing that money. But we're only talking, what, 6 to 7 basis points here. The biggest drag would be, let's say we put money in 30 and 60 days, and that's $500,000, let's say, and it rolls off, and we only spent 100. Well, now you got $400,000 sitting there making 2% when it could be making 4.5%. But again, you could keep reinvesting when it rolls off. If you see that you have monies, you can roll it into a 30-day CD at that point, another one.
And we got to ask, is that money insured, right?
money insured?
Hello.
Up to 250,000
Up to 250, yeah.
Up to 250.
Per account?
per account.
It's the truth.
So, I mean, right now, technically, the money you've got at the Hoosier Fund is not insured, but it's in U.S. Treasuries. So, if U.S. Treasuries fail, then everything's failed at that point, you know?
We'll be bartering.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay. Moving on, next item, laptops and portal for board meeting packets.
Wait, did you want to do a motion? Because we haven't done
Well, it
one.
sounds like
He's
Steve
gonna-
wants
he's
to.
gonna
Sounded like
talk.
Steve wanted to.
We want to wait?
Yeah.
Guess we'll wait.
Okay.
I mean, I wanted to possibly get,
Let me ask, is there, on the ultra conservative side, because I don't know what that money is generating, what's the 3 million getting now in interest?
4.55, I think.
You mean right now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
And
then we're
then there
talking
may not
about a
be that-
margin.
Yeah, I mean,
0.1.
if it was getting 1.5 or something, I'd say
No,
let's get something moved, but if we're getting 4.5, it might make sense to wait and allow
Still
Steve
Steve
to
get a plan.
That's what I
connect
was
with
figuring.
JPR, and
That
then
much.
we can figure out at the
Good with
next
that.
meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't even know that it needs to wait till the next meeting if we can get a resolution before then. If you give authorization to either, Marcy or John to make that move.
What
What's
we want to
the-
do, you want to wait 30 days or try to get something? Because he's going to need a few days to look into everything.
I say just look into it, Steve, and let us know.
30 days.
You
is-
know?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's not that huge of a difference in
it's less than
rates.
30 days.
Yeah. So by our next executive meeting, we should have an idea, or not executive, I'm sorry, our board meeting, we
Agenda.
should know.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll shoot for that.
okay.
Next item, laptops and portal for board meeting packets and documents.
Okay, I checked into one, and this onboard, we got a kind of a tutorial on, and looks nice, but it was a little expensive, I thought. However, after we told them that, they said, of course, they would work with us. So we have one more that we're going to look at, and I'm still checking that out, but it looks like probably if we just got everyone tablets instead of a full-blown laptop and everything would be a lot cheaper. And I think probably right around $350 to $500, I don't think you guys are going to need something,
Something that holds a lot of papers.
right. So I think that would, looking at that number just for your tablets, and then it was $4,000 a year. Well, $4,000, and $1,000 of that was startup, and then $3,000 a year for the users.
And what do you
And
get for 3,000?
Yeah, what do you
What do
get?
they do?
provide you with the portal.
Okay.
Wow.
And so I think there's another one that boardable that we're checking on, and I think that one will be better, and I've heard people already use that, and it seems like, so I wasn't too happy with that number, and we're gonna keep looking.
I haven't messed with tablets. Can you copy paste documents onto the tab?
Yeah,
onto
it's
the
just like a
tablet?
computer.
Like a computer, okay.
It's just like having a laptop. It's just smaller, easier to use, and
You can even get keyboards for them to make them nice.
lighter. I
I
mean,
would need
The little surface
I
road.
have our IT guy at my office helping with this because some of this is above me, so. And he'll be the one, if you guys decide this, that can help us get trained and help everybody get set up and everything.
Okay,
So I'm still checking on that. We'll check on that last one.
thank you.
Okay, ITRCC surcharges attached.
All right, so there's a table in your packet, looks like that. We were looking at the rate ordinances that the district adopted and noticed that there was a mention in the ordinance on surcharges for the travel plaza on their bill. In addition to their bill's something $7,600 or something like that. Yeah.
More than that.
What is it?
Yeah, they paid 29,000 a month. half-
Oh, wow.
Part
Okay.
sewer, part water.
Anyway, there were 4 different surcharges that the district has the right to levy against the toll road based on their flow or constituency of their wastewater. For example, they have a limit of 26,500 gallons per day of flow. Anything in excess of that, they are billed at $7,600 a month per day. So in that case, you can see in the table, it's somewhere around $250 per occurrence per day.
Wow.
Then they have limits on the waste load concentration of the wastewater for BOD, total suspended solids, and ammonia nitrogen. BOD's limit is 1,500 milligrams per liter. On anything above that, they are billed at, I think it's about 30 or 40 cents per pound of BOD. Total suspended solids, their limit is 1,000 milligrams per liter. Same there, it's 30 or 40 cents a pound for anything in excess of that. And then ammonia nitrogen, their limit's 150 milligrams per liter, and they're billed at about 80 cents a pound. And what I did is I looked at the entire last calendar year of MROs from the plant to see what could have been billed in surcharges, and that's on the backside of that sheet. You'll see there's about $4,500 in flow surcharges there, and about $1,200 in concentration surcharges that are there. Not entirely sure how the limit for the flow surcharge was established, because the average daily flow limit of the plant itself is 80,000 gallons per day. And they're currently the only customer on it.
And the surcharge is at what?
26,500. So the plant's perfectly capable of handling that much flow. And I'm not sure during the development of that rate ordinance why that limit was chosen. But that's what's written.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense unless they're doing, like, say they have a leak into their system and we see a big peak during a rain, then I think it makes sense to surcharge them because they need to fix their system.
Yeah.
But if it's just daily average flows and that's what they generate, it seems like surcharging is unreasonable. Strength too, because they've done a lot of things to control their water usage, which is all good, but that makes the strength go up.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like the plant's having any trouble meeting limits. It's just, I wonder, once Hudson and Saugony Lakes come in and our flows start going up, if, that's not going to affect things more.
Well, we're designing a new plant to handle
Yeah,
that.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's awfully strong wastewater now, and it'll be very strong from Saugony Hudson because of the nature of it, so we really need to think about odor control and that.
Well, it shouldn't, from a max TSS and ammonia, I mean, you shouldn't be seeing anything too much more than what you're already seeing here on these surcharges. I mean, we're probably talking, at BOD and TSS, you're probably looking around 400 milligrams per liter max for pressure
Grind.
sewer system.
Yeah.
And then you're probably looking at 100 max for ammonia, nitrogen.
Yeah, to me, that's very high, but
Yeah,
it's
right.
what you expect.
Correct.
Yeah, it's what you expect from grinders, yeah. So-
Are you saying we shouldn't be charging them for the flow surcharge, Jer?
Unless it's occurring during rains. You know, if we can look and say those high flow days are during rain days, then I'd say,
Summer
yeah,
travel.
but, yeah, if it's just
With
extra
summer
travel, if it's just extra travel, that's normal usage and the plant's large enough.
Because like you can see there, it's all taking place between Memorial Day and
Yeah.
Labor Day. All of it,
Absolutely.
all of those surcharges that are listed there.
Yeah,
I think
summer.
the genesis of this, Jerry, was we were looking at discussing alternatives for funding the Hudson-Saugony plant expansion along with the collection system. And so just randomly, I kind of looked up, I'm like, well, what's the agreement with the toll road? How should they participate? And that's when the discussion came up. I was like, $26,500 a day, you know, is that, it's kind of the first time I saw it, and I think the first time that any of us really paid any attention to it, is that, are they violating that? Is that enough? Because at some point, I think we're going to look to readdress this agreement with them if we move forward with this project, with the idea that they should probably participate in some of the plant expansion costs and increased treatment costs.
That's going to be a hard sell, though right now they're only using half the plant capacity. Well, not even.
Did they come to you with this, or how did this get discovered?
Steve discovered it
Yeah, we were.
in the agreement.
Yeah, we were discussing, we were all on a call discussing the financial development of the Hudson-Saugony project, and I just happened to pull up the agreement, or Jennifer sent it to me, I think. So,
It's never been billed before. I believe it was discussed and it was not going to be billed.
Yeah, if they had some unusual process that's generating high volume or high load, then surcharging is normal. Here, it's just normal operation
But
for a
legally,
plant they built.
we could have billed them this 5,000.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
we
the
could-
State Board of Accounts would probably say legally we have to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm trying to remember. I suspect that the last rate ordinance specific to the toll plaza,
They have their own.
right, and it was generated, I'm assumed, by our prior financial counsel based on, and it was part of that larger negotiation with the toll plaza for us to take over the toll plaza, and so it was, I do not remember all the gory details of it because there were a lot of moving parts to make that transaction happen, to say the least. So,
Like reevaluate maybe?
well, yeah, I guess the issue though is I wouldn't I think if it's not accurate for the way they use the system and not fair, as I think Jerry's kind of alluding to, that it, you know, that number that's the triggering number may not be a good number.
Flow.
We probably, as opposed to just letting it slide, which we've been doing, which sounds like kind of, from a fairness standpoint, the right thing to do, we would need to consider amending their particular rate ordinance, but I don't know that you'd want to do that now and then come back with the potential issue of, are they going to participate in the expense of the expansion of the system itself? You know, you don't want to go take two bites at the apple. I mean, we want to kind of, if we have to have a discussion with them, I think you'd want to have one discussion with them at one time.
I agree. And the only reason that, again, we're just bringing it up because it came to our attention. I was like, wait, you know, are they even within the limits now, before we move forward with, and again, none of us were involved or have any knowledge that I know of how that agreement was developed, and I haven't seen any of the financial side on what they were supposed to participate in, what costs they were supposed to participate in, how that was developed. So all that's kind of relevant as we move forward. We'll want to take a look at that. If anybody has those reports or any information on how that rate was arrived, or the two rates, because there's one for water, one for sewer, that would be helpful.
I might have, I mean, I'm sure I have, at the time, the Sender and Company financial analysis.
Yeah, I think I've sent you everything from Sender,
And I-
Steve.
and I-
You should have that
And I
stuff.
don't recall whether the state itself would have actually developed some of those financial models because it was their system that we kind of took over. They were already billing. But I'll look through my files and see what I can find, see if I have anything. I'll go through it, Steve, and see if I have any specific reports about how you're not so much concerned. There's two documents, right? There's the rate ordinance, and then there's
Kind of
the
received it as a,
contractual arrangement between us to
Yeah,
provide
so
services to the
I
toll
think that's
plaza.
when that ordinance.
One would have more legal language about are
would
they
that be-
required to participate in an expansion or renovation of the system. The others, how we got to the rate. So I'll see if I can find both.
Would that be in the Rolling Prairie lab? I know I moved a lot of that paperwork.
I'm
Moved a
sure
lot
it
of that
is.
paperwork into the lab.
I've got a banker's box.
I'm
full.
sure. I don't know if, I think what we're looking for is all the backup to the ordinance, and that's what Steve's talking about, correct?
Right, and,
How this rate ordinance was decided.
right. And I'm pretty sure I've got, the Rolling Prairie information, but I don't recall seeing anything on the rates for the toll road.
Yeah, you might be right. I might have sent you Rolling Prairie. I don't know if I even have the toll road stuff, but we can look. And if I
Okay.
need to, I can go look through the old files.
So we'll find out next meeting, right?
Yep, sure.
Okay, sounds good.
Look at those boxes.
Moving on to rate ordinance.
Okay, so I know I spoke with some of you regarding figuring out in Rolling Prairie that we have commercial properties that are paying residential rates, and we need to get that adjusted.
Didn't we have it set up so they would pay several EDUs?
You have an ordinance, sorta, that it's not clean. What we are suggesting is that you do a new rate ordinance that is clear as far as what they would be charged. The current rate ordinance goes back from the original time, and since we have done new rate ordinances, each one refers to the previous one. So you basically have to go back to the very beginning to figure out how to charge those commercial properties, which is based off of, and I didn't bring it, I apologize, I think it's 175 flow per day, I think it is. So, but none of it's metered. We don't meter the properties. So I
The
feel
commercial
like
properties?
we don't meter any of them.
Okay.
So I feel like in order to, in our professional opinion, we need something solid. We need something set. And we have some examples that we can provide, and we've been looking at it, especially coming into a lake property. There are other things like garage apartments and, extra cottages, that type of thing, that you would need to figure out how to charge. So I think before we get into this big project, that's really something we need to take a look at and think seriously about it, because I can't comfortably figure out and feel like it's a good base for increasing those properties until we have something solid. I'm not saying raise rates. I'm saying we just need to change the how the properties are calculated.
Okay.
Are we talking about one rate ordinance for, I guess I always envisioned we would have, whether we need to amend it or not, we'd have a Rolling Prairie ordinance, and we'd have something separate and distinct for Hudson Saguenay. Are you talking about
We
having
can do it
some-
that way, but this one still needs to be updated, regardless if we have separate one.
Right. I don't
Yeah.
care which way we go. Again, I usually, all along, those rate ordinance, typically the drafts are worked on by financial counsel, and then I look at them, and generally they're 99% perfectly fine. So,
Yeah.
but you guys have longer experience
Yeah.
with districts, so I don't know whether it makes sense to have, we obviously are always going to have a separate one for the toll plaza.
Correct, yep.
So we're going to have two. And
Well,
I don't know
and
that
then
it
if you want-
matters whether we have 2 or 3, or if we end up doing more projects, we have 4 or 5 in the future. I'm not sure what the norm is for other districts.
Most of my districts have one, and that covers all your projects, because it's just a matter of, you can still have one, and then it's a matter of that project, what your rate is per EDU. I mean, right, Steve? Isn't that what you normally see?
I've seen it both ways.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done either way. You could have a separate ordinance for each service area. I mean, Allen County had, I don't know how many service areas for years, and then they just said, to heck with it, we're going to just go to one ordinance and one rate.
Sense.
How many ordinances do we have?
Well,
Right now?
Yeah.
well,
Well, we have amendments, but I mean, we have one basically that services Rolling Prairie, and a completely separate and distinct one for the toll plaza, which is its own beast. Yeah, you could throw that in and probably have one ordinance that talks about, here's this area, there's this area, here's this area.
but if you look at the current ordinance right now, the latest one, it references, so if you try to just review that ordinance.
Yeah.
And figure out how to figure out the commercial rate, it preferences the previous ordinance. Then if you go to that one, it references the previous
So the
ordinance.
original.
So
Any
that
idea how
one,
we were supposed to be doing it?
well,
Well,
I mean,
I mean,
We can
lawyers do
come
that
up
all
with a
the
brand new
time.
ordinance, right? to
That's how we
cover
make a
everything.
living. We
that's,
don't
I
want you to be
think
able to
that
read it.
is,
It's a lot easier
because,
than
I mean, in
rewriting the
order
whole
for
ordinance, you know.
anybody to understand it, you would
we
have to
need
post
one.
every single one of these
Updated.
up on your website, and then also, then it's by flow.
And we could pass a new one to clean all that up. and make it
Exactly.
understand. So why don't we do that?
And I have examples that we can work through, and we already know, you know,
But we need to look at our original, right? Like Jerry probably should take a look at that, and Mitch or whomever.
I don't think it's,
Well, who puts
I
them
don't think
together?
we,
Oh, I'm
we
sorry.
can do, we can put a draft together and work with Barry and show you. We already have looked into it, and I already have examples that we
Okay.
use at other districts. I already have all that
Okay.
ready for you guys.
And the rates are always going to be different. I mean, I don't think we're
Exactly.
ever
Each
envisioning
project.
levelizing the rates for Rolling
Yeah,
and Hudson Saugony. I don't think our financial analysis has ever recommended that. So we'd still have separate
right.
districts within the overarching ordinance. But I agree, there's a lot to be said for just having,
Yes, and
One.
basically what it is you attach a schedule
Yeah.
that says residential 1 EDU at this rate. And then maybe it's convenience
Commercial.
store is by square foot. I don't even remember, but I think like bars can be based by how many seats are in the bar.
Wow.
Churches, how many pews. I mean, it's set out that way so that you know exactly how to figure it out. You're not trying to figure it out by flow, which we do not meter.
Do you ever see it metered? We've done that sometimes
Have
where,
seen it on projects, but they meter it off the water.
that's way I've
Exactly.
seen it. For, if it's large enough, we meter off the well.
Yes,
I've
but
seen
you'd
that
have
done.
to use water, and you'd have to, I mean, this district had water and sewer, so they could meter it off the water.
Well, and it makes,
But
then
we
you gotta
don't.
have someone reading the meters. And some-
Exactly.
yeah,
Then there's a whole nother
Whole nother yeah,
operations
aspect to it.
cost,
Yep.
so,
Okay.
So based on EDU.
So we'll work on getting
So-
it combined into one.
yeah, I think we need to do that.
I guess the board would need
That's
to
our-
determine whether you want to include the toll plaza or
I
leave
think
that.
that
could be
probably
separate.
needs
I-
to still stay separate.
It definitely needs to be a separate animal, but I wouldn't mind seeing it in the,
Incorporated
in the ordinance in a, you know, just a separate segment. Because
And
then
the-
when you go to look for rates, you know where to look.
Right.
Yeah, and we can always do that. That's not,
Okay.
Yeah,
Any
it's definitely a
problem?
separate animal.
Too.
but we have a lot of information and experience with that we can put that draft together, and even Steve, I mean,
Okay.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Next meeting, busy meeting.
Well, yeah, that's optimistic, but well, because I know the work it's going to take from their end,
That is.
particularly.
Plus the 10 meetings we got before then.
But as a starting point, Jennifer, you may want to send me, I mean, I can dig them out, but are they all on the webpage, all of the existing rate ordinances? No.
it's too confusing.
Well, they're not that long, in their defense, right? They're
No,
only
they're not bad.
4 or 5
No.
pages long by ordinances, but
Okay.
gotcha.
Thank you.
Anything else under that? Old business, Whisper Isle subdivision, cost estimate and study engineering committee.
Yeah.
We've tabled that.
And And the other one we're still waiting on.
So, they won both.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to adjourn. Are there any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. Roll call. Jennifer?
John,
Aye.
Marcella,
Yes.
Jerry,
Aye.
Mitch,
Aye.
Dahlia,
Aye.
Amanda.
Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.